everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 1 of Marvel's Secret Invasion Disney Plus series. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney Plus, check that out, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from episode 1 of Marvel's Secret Invasion Disney Plus series, it's Jon Jon Rico.
Hello, everyone. Danny,
Hello.
if that's really you.
Come on. It's definitely really me. Who else would be sitting next to Goose? There's no Skrull that would be in their right mind sitting next to a Flurkin.
That's not a cat. That's a flurkin. A flurkin.
Sure, he would have eaten you already.
Yeah, see, I love Goose. I was actually sitting there with Goose, waiting for Goose to show up in episode 1.
Oh,
I think Fury should have beamed down from the ship, just holding Goose. Excellent judge of character.
there you go.
but yeah, I mean, Secret Invasion episode 1. I mean, I could describe the series in one word, and it's just tense. And I mean that in the best way possible. The entire episode is just tense because you don't know, number one, who's a Skrull, who's not, but you don't know, what is going to happen. I mean, we see by the end of the episode, even that, like, Fury and everybody got duped in following, bags, which turned out to be nothing. Like, there's nothing you can trust about this series, and it's crazy in the best way possible. I think, it started great with, showing us a character that kind of most of us who have been kind of watching all of the big Marvel movies, Everett Ross was in the newest Black Panther movie, which, has been out within the last year. So it's a familiar face and we can recognize, and boom, he immediately is a Skrull. We find out that. So that means we can trust no identities moving forward for the rest of this series and episode. What I definitely got from this was major, early Mission Impossible vibes. And what I mean by that is like the first and second movie where the purpose of the movie is to kind of trip you up.
We're being ambushed. Abort, that's an order.
You don't know exactly if the events are taking place the way that they should be, or if they're just showing you the way that they want you to see it. And by the end, it's going to show you like, nope, that didn't really happen. That person wasn't dead. They're alive now. I loved that. I thought that was great. I got those vibes immediately from it. Yeah, I loved this episode. I have such high hopes for the rest of this series because I didn't know exactly what to expect. I mean, we had little like kind of clips about this and stuff moving forward, but like to actually finally have like kind of the vibe of this series is awesome. I am so excited for episode 2 and the rest of the series. But Rico, what were some of your initial impressions of this episode?
Yeah, this was actually a really great start to the series, in my opinion. I love the Secret Invasion comic book, but I kind of knew going into this that the show was not going to be exactly what that comics book story is. So I'm excited to see like this MCU style version of the story. And I think it was off to a really great start. One of my favorite things about the MCU is when they dive into like these like political thriller / like espionage style storytelling projects, and kind of the big one being the Winter Soldier, right? I think that's probably the best example, and in my opinion, it's still one of the greatest MCU movies that they've made yet. So getting to see them kind of dive back into that genre again is really fun to watch. And when you throw in something like the Skrulls, I think they fit in perfectly to this style of storytelling. especially when you saw the way it played out during this episode, like the way they can be used to give off this like who can we trust, even like whether it's people we don't already trust or people we actually know and trust already. They add a fun little element to this style of storytelling that I think is going to be really really interesting to watch unfold as the season progresses. It's almost like watching like a Marvel version of Andor now that we've seen Andor, the way they do things. It's like
Ooh.
I think now they can kind of take little pages from that and kind of bring it into the MCU and we could see some pretty dark stuff going on in this show. I think it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, I did not think about the Andor. That is a perfect, like, keeping
Mhm.
it in like the Disney Plus connection and everything
Yeah.
too. Like, yeah, I mean, I was definitely getting the same vibes from a lot of the episodes of Andor's where like you got a lot. It's very tense. Like there's very tense moments, and you feel that throughout the episodes and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's
So
not very action heavy, but there's a lot of
right.
tense moments that really make it feel like compelling television. And I think that's where the writing is going to come into play. More so than just be like, hey, let's rely on big CG and stunt sequences. We have to rely on really solid writing and like these really tight knit, like kind of like outthinking each other style of scenes. So I'm very excited for the style of show within the MCU.
Same. I am so excited for episode 2. I was almost like, can we get like a 2-episode premiere here? But
Mhm.
yeah. But anyway, you want to get to some big takeaways?
Sure do.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off big takeaways. And I mean, for me, like I love that it was kind of about like the episode being tense and kind of being caught off guard about things and kind of just like, more gritty and street level and stuff like that. But I'm obviously, I'm gonna touch on kind of the a couple of the lighter moments, at least for me. And for that, for me, I mean, they both kind of happen very close to each other, and it takes place with Talos and Fury together, and like I just like their dynamic because at this point they've
Yeah.
known each other for a long time, and even more so you can see that in when Talos talks about how his wife has passed away, and Fury really has like condolences for that, and you can tell like they have a very personal relationship and stuff like that. So it kind of makes their scenes together feel, I guess, more real, like more real, I guess, because now you're playing off these two people who have known each other for 30 years or more at this
Mhm.
point. And I just got a vibe when they were, trying to go and figure out, what's going on and everything. I got more of a vibe of like in couple instances where it was like a buddy cop kind of vibe where they were talking
Oh yeah.
about how Talos isn't even 40 years old yet, so he hasn't even had his midlife crisis. Well,
Yeah.
he's not 40 Earth year old, like the equivalent of that yet. So he
Right.
hasn't even had that. And so then he asks Fury, he's like,
What you get for yours? The Avengers.
I got the Avengers.
Yeah, yeah, that was a solid joke.
I like
It's a perfect Fury response, in my opinion.
right, but it just immediately to me it just felt like a buddy cop, like just a snippet of what we could have
Mhm.
got as a buddy cop series of Talos and Fury just running
Absolutely.
around. But then right after that, we get an interrogation scene with Fury, and we really do get to see, just kind of the skills that Fury has, which I think is amazing. I think we only got like a very short glimpse of it, a very quick glimpse of it, but just how commanding of a person he actually is. Because, he kind of just seemed like he was joking, but he was definitely being very intimidating at the same time, where he was saying, everybody gets one lie, nobody gets two. Like, and
Oh,
just
no,
like
yeah,
that.
that's a
But
great
he's like,
line.
exactly. But he's making like jokes kind of back and forth where like we finds out he's sitting in Louis the 14th's chair. So he's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is really comfortable. Like, you got more chairs like that out there? Like,
That chair belonged to Louis XV. It's priceless.
Everything is priceless till it gets blown to bits in a hail of bullets.
Yeah.
just a bunch of like little tiny like one-liners and stuff. But it really does show like how, intense he is, where he can kind of just balance where it kind of seems like he's just joking, but then immediately he's not going to hesitate to just, take out the person he's talking to. It doesn't matter, type of thing. So I just, both of those kind of scenes I thought were big impacts for me. obviously because I did like, just having a little bit of kind of a lighthearted jab back and forth from Talos and Nick Fury type of thing. And then to just kind of actually be able to experience Fury, him actually being, and not that he's always intimidating, but just seeing, I guess, interrogation skills from Fury, because we've never really seen that. At least I can't remember that we've seen that. We've seen him, leading people. We've seen him yelling at people. We've seen him pushing people to do their best, but we've never really seen him where he's actually, going and trying to pull information from somebody. So I thought that was really an interesting, scene to see that and kind of see that he's still got those kind of skills. He may be a little old to like be running after people or shooting people down with a rocket launcher like Talos did as him in Far From Home, but he's still mentally got like major skills that are going to become very useful for the rest of this series, I think. But Rico, what were some of your takeaways from this first episode?
Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about Nick Fury and like just the fact that we're getting a show that is basically a show that where he's the central focus of the story, essentially. Kind of the way you touched on it, we still get to see that even after a long time away from Earth, he still gets to display like these skills that make him the man that who he is, right? I really love that we get to see like all the different connections he has on Earth, of course. Like, of course, as soon as he gets captured on purpose by Sonya's people, and like seeing how he has this relationship with them, and you can already see there's like this past that they have with each other. I just love seeing Samuel L. Jackson get to work with great actors, and like it just seems like if you're gonna throw in new actors in the MCU, just have them work with Nick Fury and just see how they play off there. You're gonna get gold no matter what. So it's good just saying that scene between those two characters cool. It was really cool. It was like watching them play like mental chess with each other, like verbal chess as well. And of course him like slipping in like his device on the little Alice statues, like you can keep tabs on her, and all that. That was really cool. Again, getting to see his relationship with Talos, which is really fun. The relationship they have is really great to see after the events going back to Captain Marvel, and so the fact that they can play that. Another great actor, Ben Mendelsohn, who again goes back to like an Andor tie-in because he was director Krennic in Rogue One.
Yep.
So he fits perfectly in this line of storytelling, in my opinion, and bringing him into the fold as like a main supporting character, I think was a great move. I'll talk a little bit more about him later, but yeah, I just love that we've always seen Fury in like these supporting roles where like again he's directing other people where to go, right? Like he's working alongside
Right.
the Avengers or other heroes, and he's just kind of playing like the second fiddle essentially to like the bigger hero. And now he gets to be like his own the main focus of the story, and almost like this like Logan style of character where he's like an old the old horse going back out into the field. Like, again, like, we're seeing him in like this director mode, but now he's got to go back in the field and do things himself. So yeah, I really love that focus on him directly and what that can mean for him going forward, and not just the show, but just in the MCU in general.
Very cool. Yeah, I am absolutely right there with you. I think this is a great series to kind of highlight Nick Fury as a character. I think it's really cool having him as kind of the lead. Exactly. You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay, so one of the things I really enjoyed about this premiere was kind of establishing what the relationship between Talos and his daughter Gaia is. We already kind of learned that he lost his wife at one point. To as it looks like Gravik. I think Gravik was probably responsible for killing his wife, and then now Gaia is working for Gravik. So there's that tension between those two when we see them reunite in that one scene. Of course, he goes, "Yeah, I was your mother was working for your mother was you're working for your mother's killer," was he was saying.
Right.
But there's that little moment where she kind of uses that to like gain his trust, and then that leads to the bag swapping fiasco that this just does not end well for everybody involved. But the big thing about that is I think the relationship between Talos and Gaia is going to be like the main thing that we're going to watch progress throughout the series. That's going to be, Gaia's main character arc, essentially. Like she's got to kind of wrestle between these two um, sides that she's kind of battling morality wise. She's got to either choose this relationship with her father or this cause that she's going against, her spite for Nick Fury, essentially, because he was the one that promised the Skrulls a better home on Earth, and that she feels like he didn't deliver. So I think watching her progress in that storyline is going to be like the interesting thing to watch as the season progresses, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are two kind of options that could happen. Either she's gonna start wondering, is my father telling me the truth? Like, and she's gonna dig into that, and there's gonna be like some argument that she's gonna have and find out that yes, her mother really was taken out by somebody in her group, type of thing. Or she's just not going to believe him, and she's just going to keep trying to use his emotions for like against him and keep lying to him, like we saw with exactly what you said, the decoy bag fiasco type of thing. So there's some interesting storyline there that we can see. I'm curious to see like where it's going to lead, type of thing. The other thing I was going to say is we found out that Fury's been followed the entire episode with all of the different characters that person shapeshifted into. The little girl, we had like the 4 immediately. So those were all from the episode. When
they
Fury
were all
was
giving me
walking
weird
around.
vibes anyways too. So
Yeah.
that it was like all the same person. I was like, oh, okay, Gravik's been here the entire time, kind of keeping tabs on Fury. He's getting his intel himself. I was like, okay, this guy's someone not to be messed with. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but the only thing I wanted to talk about with my prediction, and I guess I'll start with what happened, like something that happened in the episode, and kind of make that like a broader prediction in general. But I want to say like R.I.P. Maria Hill if she's actually dead. And when I say that if she's actually dead is because there are two things. First one is we are kind of looking at this as comparable to Winter Soldier. We're getting like Winter Soldier vibes from it at least. And in that movie, we see Fury get, really hurt. And, he's back. He's back by the end of the movie type of thing. You know what I mean? So there's a slim chance that like maybe that could happen with Maria Hill, where like she really did get shot and, maybe she's okay. Like we'll see her in 3 episodes recovering type of thing. I know that's a very slim chance, but what I initially thought, and this is what leads to kind of my bigger prediction, is Maria Hill really dead? And I know, like I said, I know we see her get shot, and I know, it starts to pan away a little bit, and then all of a sudden it immediately cuts away. I realize that, Skrulls, revert back to their form after they're dead type of thing. So in the back of my head, anytime we see somebody get shot, unless we actually see like it shows them completely cold, I feel like there's still a chance they could have been a Skrull. I just feel like it cut away real quick type of thing. So it might be a 1 or 2% chance, but I think, we've already found out at one point in Far From Home, Maria Hill was a Skrull. So, what if she still was? What if that was really just a Skrull that was on, Talos and Fury's side type of thing? That's all I'm saying. I realize, it's a 1%, 2% chance of either one of those happening. Realistically, it's probably better odds that, Maria Hill, who's been since the original Avengers is finally like completely gone. RIP, if that's true.
Another one of the OGs.
Yeah. But what that kind of, a bigger prediction is, like I was kind of trying to get to, is this is going to be a kind of running thought, with every episode of this series is, if we don't, like it used to be, if you don't see somebody die on camera, chances are they're probably not dead. Now we could see them pretty much die on camera. And if we don't see, completely laying there lifeless, we don't know if they were actually a Skrull or not. Like I realize like chances are, a lot of times they're not going to keep doing that over and over and over again. But I just think it puts a very interesting illusion on every single person, even when they're dying. We still don't know up until they actually show them dead on screen if they were a Skrull or not. And that just keeps you guessing everything with everything. And I think it's just another kind of twist on everything where, because I mean, we had the guy that Fury shot, and he didn't instantly change back to a Skrull. He changed back to a Skrull when he was completely gone. So that's, a minute or two there where he still looked like he was human. So I just think it keeps us guessing all the time. And I think it's really interesting. And it prompted me to one question that I think we should answer after every episode. Just not like, it doesn't have to be based on the episode, but just in general, in the universe that we're in right now with Secret Invasion, I think we should ask this question. And if you're playing at home, put it in the comments below, and we'll just keep track of everybody's. I think after every single episode, we should just take a guess on someone that could potentially be a Skrull. It doesn't have to be somebody that was just in this episode. It doesn't have to be somebody that we, know for sure it's going to be in the next episode. I just think in general, in the universe that we're in right now, who could potentially be a Skrull that we might see in this series? I just think it's like it led me to that. And if you don't have one yet, I can give you time to think, and I'll mention my first person. My first person I think is pretty obvious, but I think it's potentially we could see that Rhodey is a Skrull. I think the way he was talking about Fury, and I realize Fury hasn't been to Earth in a long time, or been on Earth in a long time, but the way he was talking to the president, saying like they're AWOL, doesn't feel like the Rhodey we had in Iron Man, where, he would, call them first. I feel like he would try to get in touch with Fury or Maria Hill or something like that first, like personally. Like he does go to say like, neither one of them have been in contact with us. Neither one of them have been able to be reached by us, type of thing. I get that, but like I just feel like Rhodey would have the means personally to get in touch with someone that would get in touch with one of those two. And we didn't see that. And he immediately jumped to these two are AWOL. Just seems, it just seems a little suspicious to me. I could be way off, but that was just my first like cue into this person could technically be a Skrull. But do you have any guesses, any picks that somebody could show up being a Skrull?
If I had to pick a guess right now, I would probably say the Sonya character played by Olivia Colman is probably my first pick to be that someone could be a Skrull.
I like that.
Because one would be a high-ranking MI6 agent who would be, being infiltrated by Skrulls. So that the stakes would be kind of a big implication there on that end.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was thinking about as you kind of brought up this question, we saw the fracking pods, or we saw the Skrull compound where we see the Skrulls take up people's identities, and also when they put them in the pods, they take their mind and memories and stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that we're kind of seeing like a build up to possibly, like, we haven't seen any of the heroes get taken by Skrulls yet, but we're gonna see one. So the idea that Rhodey we could see him get thrown into one. So the fact that he may not be one yet, but something could happen that he could get taken by the Skrulls, and then they infiltrate from there. So I think we get to see the progression of how threatening Skrulls can be, I think, in this show, right? So right now they're kind of like scrambled about making these factions, and we have to see them work up their power. And I think that's what we're going to see here is like we're going to see them infiltrate these high ranking offices, the MI6, the White House and stuff like that. And then once that starts happening, we'll start seeing them being able to gain access to these other heroes. And then I'm thinking about Gravik, if he's possibly going to be what the MCU version of the Super Skrull. If this is going to be his way of basically like capturing heroes and then being able to like adapt their powers based off of like the fracking pods essentially. So that would be an interesting thing. And then that could possibly lead to him being like a bigger villain for say like the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Because that's where the Super Skrull is, but mostly known as the Fantastic Four villain. So there's a lot that can happen here. So it's like I'm thinking about who else they can possibly get, like who they can capture and get their powers to become even more powerful now. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see their like rise to power unfold, I think, through the show. The secret invasion, so if you will.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's so exciting. And it's so exciting to kind of think about this and to talk about it every week. I am so excited for this series now. And like to an extent, even more excited to just talk about this series for the next like 6 weeks. I think it's gonna be an awesome ride. I'm so excited. Yeah. And like we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 1 of The Secret Invasion? And, who's your guess for potential Skrull? And, the most important question, do you think Goose will show up in the series? Yes or no? That's very important to me. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.